The evening air in Portland carried a hint of autumn, the leaves turning shades of gold and crimson. I stood outside the art gallery, feeling the weight of my life pressing down on me. My husband was away on another business trip, leaving me to navigate the silence of our home alone. The gallery was buzzing with energy, a stark contrast to my own feelings of isolation. I had always loved art, but tonight it felt like a mask I wore to hide my dissatisfaction. Inside, vibrant paintings adorned the walls, each one telling a story. I wandered through the crowd, sipping on a glass of local Pinot Noir and pretending to engage in conversations about brushstrokes and color palettes. Most people were younger than me, their laughter echoing through the space like music I no longer knew how to dance to. As I turned a corner, I bumped into him, a younger man with tousled hair and an easy smile that lit up his face. "Sorry about that," he said, his voice warm and inviting. "No harm done," I replied, surprised by how easily the words slipped from my lips. We exchanged pleasantries, discussing the artwork around us. His name was Jake, and he spoke passionately about his favorite pieces. There was an ease between us that felt both refreshing and alarming. The chemistry was undeniable, it crackled in the air like static electricity. Each laugh we shared seemed to draw me closer to him. As we moved deeper into the gallery, I couldn't help but notice how effortlessly he navigated this world. His confidence contrasted sharply with my own self-doubt. My heart raced as he leaned closer to examine a painting, brushing against my arm in a way that sent shivers down my spine. It had been years since anyone had made me feel this way, alive and desired. "Would you like to grab dinner after this?" he asked suddenly, his eyes searching mine for an answer. I hesitated for just a moment, guilt washed over me like cold water. My husband was miles away, engrossed in work while I stood here contemplating dinner with a man half my age. But perhaps this was what I needed, a brief escape from reality. "Sure," I found myself saying before I could think better of it. We exchanged numbers amidst laughter and shared glances that lingered just a moment too long. As we parted ways at the gallery's entrance, anticipation bubbled within me, a feeling long buried under years of routine and responsibility. The next evening unfolded with an electric charge as we met at a cozy cafe downtown known for its artisanal pastries and rich coffee brews. The scent of fresh croissants enveloped us as we settled into our seats by the window. Outside, rain began to fall softly against the glass, a typical Portland evening that felt oddly romantic. Conversation flowed easily between us as we shared stories about our lives. His youthful optimism clashed beautifully with my seasoned perspective on life's complexities. He spoke candidly about his dreams and aspirations while I reflected on moments where my own ambitions had been set aside for marriage and motherhood. "I admire your courage," Jake said softly as he leaned back in his chair, studying me intently. "Most people settle for less than they want." His words struck a chord deep within me. They echoed sentiments I had kept locked away for too long. In those moments filled with laughter and shared vulnerabilities, the weight of guilt began to lift slightly, just enough for me to breathe easier. Yet even as we connected over our meals, each bite tasting sweeter than the last, the nagging voice in my head reminded me of my vows and commitments back home. The thrill of being seen anew battled fiercely against the guilt creeping into my thoughts. As we left the cafe together under an umbrella he had offered without hesitation, another twist awaited us outside, the sudden appearance of an old friend from college who happened to be passing by. Her surprised expression morphed into one of curiosity as she took in our closeness. "Fancy seeing you here," she exclaimed with feigned nonchalance, but her eyes narrowed slightly in suspicion as they flicked between Jake and me. "Just catching up," I replied quickly, hoping she wouldn't pry further into our evening together. After exchanging polite goodbyes, Jake turned to me with a mischievous grin that made my heart race again. "That was close." "Too close," I murmured back as unease settled over me once more. The rest of the evening passed in a blur, laughter mingled with tension as thoughts swirled around what lay ahead for us both, this connection felt fragile yet exhilarating all at once. Days turned into weeks filled with stolen moments, a picnic at Forest Park where we shared secrets beneath towering trees, late-night phone calls where vulnerability became our language, quiet dinners where every glance held unspoken promises. Yet beneath it all lingered an unshakable truth: this relationship existed within fragile boundaries defined by secrecy and fear. One weekend brought unexpected snowstorms that blanketed Portland in white, a winter wonderland that trapped us together in his small apartment filled with warmth from flickering candles and cozy blankets draped over furniture like soft embraces. We spent hours talking about everything from art to dreams while sipping hot cocoa spiked with peppermint schnapps, a guilty pleasure we indulged in together while outside nature painted its masterpiece across city streets. But morning light shattered those illusions when reality returned uninvited, the soft glow illuminating everything we had tried so hard not to see. Fleeting moments spent together would eventually lead back to separate lives filled once again with loneliness masked behind busy schedules or obligations waiting patiently at home. I found myself grappling with conflicting emotions during those quiet hours spent wrapped up together. Something inside began shifting imperceptibly toward deeper feelings than mere infatuation. It scared me yet thrilled me all at once, like walking along a tightrope strung high above familiar ground below. Then came messages from home, my husband's voice breaking through after days away filled only by silence between us. Each word weighed heavy upon hearing them again brought forth doubts swirling within me like storm clouds threatening rain on already dampened spirits left behind when choosing this path forward instead led only toward uncertainty looming ahead instead promising clarity ahead. If only time could allow it to unfold naturally without consequence looming nearby always waiting patiently just outside until ready reveal itself fully before too long. And so there sat two hearts bound by choices made amidst shadows cast long before dawn broke anew each day bringing forth fresh beginnings ripe possibilities yet haunted still echoes past decisions made a long way leading nowhere good ultimately leaving behind nothing but memories etched deeply within minds forever marked forever changed. The evening air in Portland carried a hint of spring, a gentle reminder that life was still vibrant outside the walls of my home. As I walked to the cafe, my thoughts drifted to the man I had met at the gallery. His laughter echoed in my mind, a sound so different from the silence that often filled my days. I could almost feel the warmth of his presence beside me, igniting a spark that had long been dormant. Inside the cafe, I spotted him already seated at a corner table, his head bent over a sketchbook. The sight sent a flutter through me, he looked so absorbed in his art. I approached slowly, savoring the moment before breaking the spell. "Hey," I said softly as I reached him. He looked up and smiled, his eyes brightening with recognition. "I hope you don't mind me starting without you." "Not at all," I replied, taking my seat opposite him. "What are you working on?" "Just some ideas inspired by our last conversation," he said, flipping the sketchbook around to show me an intricate drawing of the gallery's sculptures. I thought it would be fun to experiment with different styles. The conversation flowed easily between us, punctuated by laughter and shared stories that revealed our vulnerabilities. He spoke about his passion for art and how it had always been an escape for him. In turn, I shared snippets from my life, my marriage, my children, and how those roles often left little room for my own desires. As we talked, guilt twisted in my stomach like a vine wrapping tightly around something fragile. Each laugh felt like a betrayal of vows made long ago. Yet there was something intoxicating about this connection, something that made me forget for just a moment the weight of responsibility pressing down on me. "What about you? What do you want?" he asked suddenly, his gaze piercing through my defenses. I hesitated, searching for an answer that felt authentic but not too revealing. "I want to feel alive again," I finally admitted. He nodded thoughtfully as if he understood more than he should have at this stage in our acquaintance. "Then let's make tonight about that." And before I could process what was happening next, he leaned across the table and kissed me gently. We kissed. The world around us faded into a blur as everything else became irrelevant. My marriage, my responsibilities, just two souls connecting under dim cafe lights filled with promise and uncertainty. After our kiss broke apart, we both sat back slightly breathless yet grinning like teenagers caught in an exhilarating moment of rebellion. "This feels different," I murmured as if trying to grasp what had just happened. "It is," he replied softly, still holding my gaze with an intensity that made me shiver slightly despite the warmth of the cafe. Our conversation continued to weave between light-hearted banter and deeper revelations about our lives until it was time to leave. Walking out into the cool night air felt surreal, every step echoed with possibilities uncharted yet tantalizingly close. As we strolled down streets lined with cherry blossoms beginning to bloom under moonlight's soft glow, an old friend unexpectedly appeared ahead of us, Maggie from college days who had been part of another chapter long closed. "Is that really you?" she called out as she approached us with surprise etched across her features. "Maggie!" I exclaimed, too cheerfully perhaps given the circumstances. My heart raced at being caught in this moment with him beside me. "Wow. It's been ages." "And who's this?" she asked curiously while eyeing him up and down with genuine interest. "Oh. This is..." My mind scrambled for words as panic surged through me like ice water splashing against skin on a winter's day. "Just a friend," he chimed in smoothly before I could stammer out anything awkward or incriminating. Maggie raised her eyebrows but seemed satisfied enough with his answer for now. "Well then. You should join us for dinner sometime." "Sure. That sounds great," he replied easily while glancing at me briefly as if gauging how much damage control was necessary after our earlier exchange beneath those cafe lights. After exchanging numbers and promising to reconnect soon enough, we parted ways with Maggie waving cheerily behind her while my heart sank deeper into uncertainty about what lay ahead now after such unexpected exposure during what should have been another ordinary evening spent together away from prying eyes or judgmental whispers lurking just beyond sight, waiting patiently like shadows cast by street lamps illuminating paths taken or avoided along life's winding journey. Once alone again under stars flickering overhead like distant dreams yet unfulfilled lingering just out reach beyond grasping hands yearning desperately for connection found only fleeting moments shared between two souls crossing paths amidst chaotic lives lived separately until now intertwined gently amidst whispers exchanged without consequence lingering nearby always waiting patiently just out sight until ready reveal itself fully before too long. "I didn't expect that," I finally said once more feeling both exhilarated yet unnerved by what had transpired tonight. The kiss still lingering on lips as if sealing promises made silently between us without words spoken aloud leaving behind echoes resonating deep within hearts awakened anew after years spent dormant tucked away inside corners hidden from view left untouched, waiting patiently until now when finally brought forth into light once more. "Neither did I," he admitted quietly glancing over towards where Maggie had disappeared into night leaving only memories behind. A bittersweet reminder of choices made amidst shadows cast long before dawn broke anew each day bringing forth fresh beginnings ripe possibilities yet haunted still echoes past decisions made a long way leading nowhere good ultimately leaving behind nothing but memories, etched deeply within minds forever marked forever changed. As we walked onward through those Portland streets illuminated softly beneath moonlight's glow illuminating our path forward together one step closer towards whatever lay ahead waiting patiently just beyond horizon shimmering brightly beckoning invitingly closer, drawing nearer toward unknown adventures awaiting discovery just around corner. The evening air was crisp as we strolled through the quiet streets of Portland, the soft glow of street lamps casting gentle shadows around us. I could feel the thrill of our connection, an electric current pulsing just beneath the surface. Despite the weight of my marital vows pressing down on me, I found myself drawn to him like a moth to a flame. It was intoxicating, this dance we were performing, and I was both exhilarated and terrified. "Do you often come to this part of town?" he asked, his voice breaking through my thoughts. "Not really," I replied, glancing at him sideways. I usually stick to familiar places. Maybe it's time for some new experiences, he suggested with a playful grin. His confidence was magnetic. I couldn't help but smile back, feeling a warmth spread through me that had been absent for far too long. We stopped outside a cozy cafe, its windows glowing invitingly. The scent of fresh pastries wafted out, wrapping around us like a comforting blanket. "Shall we?" he gestured toward the entrance. Inside, we settled into a corner booth, the atmosphere intimate and perfect for our clandestine meeting. We shared stories over steaming cups of coffee, his tales of travel and adventure igniting something in me that had long been dormant. As he spoke about his recent trip to Italy, I found myself leaning closer, captivated by his enthusiasm. "I've always wanted to see Venice," I confessed. "It's magical," he said softly. "You should go." Our conversation flowed effortlessly, weaving between laughter and shared dreams. With each passing moment, the guilt that had shadowed me began to dissipate like mist in the morning sun. I felt alive in a way that had eluded me for years. As we finished our drinks, he leaned back slightly and looked at me with those piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through to my soul. "You know," he said slowly, "there's something special about tonight." I nodded slowly, feeling my heart race as unspoken words hung in the air between us. Our eyes locked for what felt like an eternity before something shifted within me, a daring leap into the unknown. And then it happened. Our lips met in a soft brush that ignited a spark between us, sending shivers down my spine. It was fleeting yet profound, an acknowledgement of everything unspoken until now. "I shouldn't have done that," I murmured once we pulled apart, my heart thudding loudly in my chest. "Why not?" he asked gently. It felt right. The thrill coursing through me battled with the remnants of doubt creeping into my mind again. How could something so exhilarating feel so wrong? Yet here we were, two souls colliding amidst the chaos of life outside these walls. "I don't want this to end badly," I admitted quietly. "Neither do I," he replied earnestly, reaching across the table to take my hand in his warm grasp. "Let's just enjoy this moment." His touch sent another wave of warmth through me as I considered his words carefully. Perhaps this was all it needed to be, a brief escape from reality where nothing else mattered but us and this connection blossoming unexpectedly between two people from different worlds. We lingered over our coffees longer than necessary. Time seemed suspended as we exchanged glances filled with unspoken promises and dreams yet unrealized. But eventually, reality crept back in. The clock chiming softly in the background reminded me that soon enough it would be time for him to go home too. As we stepped outside once more into the cool night air, uncertainty hung thick around us like fog rolling off nearby riverside paths winding toward unknown destinations ahead, waiting patiently just beyond reach, beckoning invitingly closer, drawing nearer toward whatever lay ahead, waiting patiently just beyond horizon. Shimmering brightly, beckoning invitingly closer, drawing nearer toward unknown adventures awaiting discovery just around corner. "What now?" I asked hesitantly as we walked side by side down those familiar streets illuminated softly beneath moonlight's glow, illuminating our path forward together, one step closer towards whatever lay ahead, waiting patiently just beyond horizon, shimmering brightly, beckoning invitingly closer, drawing nearer toward unknown adventures awaiting discovery just around corner. He paused for a moment before responding thoughtfully, "How about dinner tomorrow? Somewhere nice?" "Sure," I replied with a hint of excitement bubbling up inside despite lingering doubts still gnawing at Edge's mind, reminding her caution was necessary, always necessary, when navigating uncharted waters filled with potential dangers lurking beneath surface, ready strike without warning, disrupt fragile balance found only moments earlier. But as we parted ways at last outside my home, a quaint little place nestled among tall trees lining quiet streets, I couldn't shake off how much had changed within such short time spent together already. With one last lingering glance exchanged between us before stepping back into shadows cast long before dawn broke anew each day, bringing forth fresh beginnings, ripe possibilities yet haunted still echoes, past decisions made a long way leading nowhere good, ultimately leaving behind nothing but memories etched deeply within minds forever marked, forever changed. And so ended another chapter filled with fleeting moments shared together under starry skies, brightening lives once dimmed by routine monotony, weighed heavily upon shoulders burdened by expectations placed upon them throughout years gone by, leaving behind only whispers, echoes fading slowly into night. The morning light filtered softly through the window, painting the room in hues of gold and amber. I stirred awake, disoriented for a moment, before the events of the previous night rushed back to me. We spent the night together, wrapped in warmth and intimacy that felt both exhilarating and frightening. The snowstorm outside had created a cocoon around us, isolating us from the world and its demands. As I lay there, I listened to his steady breathing beside me. A part of me wanted to linger in this moment forever, but another part knew that reality awaited just beyond the door. What would happen when we stepped back into our lives? The thrill of our connection was intoxicating, yet it felt fragile, like a delicate glass ornament that could shatter with the slightest touch. I turned my head to watch him sleep. His features were soft in repose, a stark contrast to the intensity he brought into our conversations. There was something about him that made me feel alive again, as if I had been awakened from a long slumber. But as I traced my fingers over his arm, I couldn't shake off the nagging doubts creeping into my mind. "Are you awake?" he murmured, eyes still closed but voice laced with sleep. "Now I am," I replied softly, trying to keep my tone light despite the weight in my chest. He opened his eyes slowly, a smile breaking across his face as he took in our surroundings. The remnants of last night's laughter still hung in the air like an unspoken promise. "What do you want to do today?" I hesitated. The thought of venturing outside into the winter wonderland was tempting, but what lay ahead once we stepped out? "Maybe we could just enjoy this for a while longer?" He nodded thoughtfully. "I'm good with that." We shared breakfast, simple yet comforting, sipping coffee while watching snowflakes dance outside. The world felt so distant. It was just us against nature's canvas. As we talked about everything and nothing at all, I found myself laughing more than I had in years. Each chuckle seemed to dissolve some of my apprehensions. Yet beneath the surface joy was an undercurrent of anxiety gnawing at me. My husband would be returning soon from his trip. How would I explain this weekend away? Would he sense something was amiss? Each passing hour brought me closer to an inevitable reckoning. As we finished breakfast and retreated back into our bubble of warmth, he reached for my hand. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "I didn't expect this weekend to feel so significant." His words hung between us like an unspoken truth. It wasn't merely about physical attraction, there was depth here, a connection that transcended mere infatuation. But what did it mean for both of us? What future could we possibly carve out amid our tangled lives? I didn't either, I admitted quietly. It's strange how quickly everything changed. He squeezed my hand gently as if trying to anchor us both amidst rising tides of uncertainty. Maybe change is what we need. The snow continued to fall outside, creating a serene backdrop that belied the turmoil within me. We spent hours talking about dreams and regrets, our hopes for tomorrow interwoven with fears about what lay ahead. It felt liberating yet suffocating at times. "What if," he started hesitantly before pausing mid-sentence. "What if what? What if we just decided not to think about tomorrow?" His voice held an edge of daring that made my heart race. "That sounds reckless," I replied with a nervous laugh. "Or freeing," he countered gently. We fell silent then, contemplating his words as snow piled higher against the windowpane, a tangible reminder of time slipping away from us like grains of sand through fingers clenched too tightly around them. Hours passed without notice until hunger nudged us back toward reality once more. We decided on a simple lunch, sandwiches and soup from a local deli delivered by a friendly courier who barely glanced at us twice when we paid him through the door crack. As we ate together on the couch, laughter filled every corner of the room until it bubbled over into something deeper, a shared understanding that neither dared voice aloud yet both felt keenly echoing within their hearts. This couldn't last forever. The afternoon waned slowly beneath heavy clouds, heavy with unspoken thoughts swirling around us like flurries outside, each moment stretched thin under weighty expectations pulling at threads woven tightly between two lives destined for different paths altogether. Then came an unexpected knock at the door, a sound so jarring it shattered our fragile bubble instantly. Reality crashed back and like an unwelcome wave washing ashore after days spent adrift among dreams untethered from consequence or care. Who could that be? My voice trembled slightly as dread pooled low in my stomach while glancing toward him anxiously. His expression mirrored mine perfectly, confusion mixed with apprehension swirling together until they became indistinguishable from one another entirely. "I'll check," he offered cautiously before rising from his seat. Every step toward uncertainty echoed loudly within me, a reminder that nothing remained untouched by consequences when desires collided head-on against obligations forged long ago beneath vows exchanged too casually, perhaps somewhere along life's winding road taken together once upon time long past. He opened the door just enough for whoever stood on other side, not fully revealing himself but enough for me see glimmers hope reflected back across space separating us now growing wider by second, ticking down toward inevitable confrontation looming ever closer. "Is everything all right?" I asked quietly while holding breath, waiting anxiously, hoping against hope whatever awaited beyond threshold wouldn't shatter everything built up over these fleeting days spent together. But fate had other plans entirely, waiting patiently just beyond reach, ready strike when least expected, leaving no room escape nor chance salvage anything lost forevermore. The door creaked open, and I held my breath. The weight of the moment pressed heavily upon me, a mix of anticipation and dread. I could hear the muffled sound of my husband's voice drifting in from the hallway, his laughter mingling with the clatter of his suitcase. He had returned unexpectedly, 2 days ahead of schedule. "Are you home?" he called out, his tone bright and casual. I exchanged a quick glance with my companion, who sat frozen on the edge of the couch. The warmth that had enveloped us just moments before felt like a distant memory now, replaced by a cold reality that threatened to unravel everything we had shared. "Just a second," I managed to reply, my voice barely above a whisper as I motioned for him to stay quiet. My heart raced as I tried to gather my thoughts. This was not how I had envisioned our evening together, this was not how it was supposed to end. I stood up slowly, each step toward the door feeling like an eternity. My mind raced with questions and fears. What would my husband think if he saw him here? Would he sense something amiss? The thought alone sent a chill down my spine. As I opened the door, I plastered on a smile that felt more like a mask than anything genuine. "You're home early," I exclaimed, trying to keep my voice light. "Surprise!" The conference wrapped up sooner than expected. He stepped inside, his presence filling the room with an air of normalcy that felt almost suffocating. "How was your day?" "It was fine," I replied quickly, glancing back at my companion who remained still and silent, his eyes wide with uncertainty. "Just fine?" "You should have called me, I would have come home sooner." My husband's gaze flickered toward the couch where my guest sat awkwardly. "Oh. Who's this?" I hesitated for just a moment too long before responding. "This is, Sam," I said finally, choosing a name at random from thin air. "A friend from work." "Nice to meet you." My husband extended his hand toward Sam, who shook it with an awkward smile. "Likewise," Sam replied softly. My heart sank as I watched them exchange pleasantries while internally screaming for time to rewind itself just moments before the door opened. This wasn't how it was supposed to be, not like this. "So what do you do?" My husband asked casually as he moved further into the room, oblivious to the tension hanging in the air. I'm in marketing, Sam answered, keeping his tone steady despite the palpable unease surrounding us. Oh really? That's interesting. My husband continued chatting as if nothing were amiss, but every word felt like another thread being pulled from an already fraying tapestry. I excused myself under the pretense of getting drinks from the kitchen while trying not to look back at Sam's face that mirrored my own panic. Once in solitude behind closed doors, I leaned against the counter and took several deep breaths to steady myself. What was happening? How could everything shift so quickly? Just hours ago we were wrapped in each other's warmth and laughter, now it felt like standing on shaky ground with no solid footing beneath me. As I poured 2 glasses of wine, one for me and one for my husband, I caught sight of my reflection in the kitchen window. It was still me staring back but somehow altered by this strange experience, a woman caught between duty and desire. Returning to the living room felt like walking into an uncharted territory filled with hidden dangers. Sam looked up at me as if searching for reassurance while my husband animatedly discussed some trivial aspect of his trip that seemed increasingly irrelevant now. I handed over 1 glass of wine before settling onto the armchair opposite them, a barrier between worlds that felt both necessary and painfully inadequate at once. The conversation flowed on without me for a while until Sam politely excused himself to use the restroom, a momentary reprieve where both men turned their attention back toward me. How's work treating you? My husband asked casually as if probing for something deeper beneath surface-level chatter. It's been busy, I replied carefully while mentally drafting escape routes from this tangled web we were caught within. You know how it is. He nodded knowingly but then shifted topics again toward mundane matters about home repairs, something trivial yet comforting amidst chaos swirling around us all too vividly now. When Sam returned moments later, he wore an expression that suggested he understood more than he let on. Perhaps he sensed how fragile our situation had become since fate intervened so abruptly. I should get going, he announced suddenly after exchanging glances with me, an unspoken agreement passing silently between us both despite our surroundings feeling increasingly claustrophobic now under scrutiny from another set of eyes watching closely nearby. What? Already? My husband interjected with surprise evident in his tone but also masked by polite curiosity regarding our guest's departure plans instead of concern over what lay beneath surface-level interactions here tonight altogether. I have some things to take care of, Sam replied smoothly though there was an unmistakable tension lingering in his voice too, the kind born-out desperation mixed with hopefulness perhaps? All right then. It was nice meeting you, my husband said cheerfully as if unaware any storm clouds loomed overhead threatening downpour upon us all at any moment without warning or mercy shown whatsoever. As soon as Sam left through front door behind him closing softly shut once more behind, an echo reverberating throughout empty space left behind, I turned back toward my husband feeling torn between relief mingled guilt gnawing inside deeper than ever before now too painfully evident lingering within shadows cast across room around us both alike. What did you think? He asked innocently enough yet probing nonetheless into depths unknown where answers eluded even myself right now trying comprehend complexities unfolding all around here tonight. He seems nice. But even saying those words felt hollow somehow lacking truthfulness hidden beneath layers unspoken feelings buried deep down below surface level interactions we shared earlier tonight instead trapped within confines created by choices made a long way leading up until this very moment right now. Before another question could arise between us or further conversation ensue, a sudden ping broke through silence cutting sharply across atmosphere thickening tension already present filling air around us now leaving no room escape nor chance salvage anything lost forevermore. An unexpected message flashed across phone screen lying forgotten atop table nearby catching attention instantly drawing focus away from ongoing discussion taking place right here right now altogether entirely. It was from Sam, "Can we talk later?" And just like that, The gravity shifted again, pulling everything taut once more, creating ripples throughout, lives intertwined within webs spun delicately, crafted together over time spent shared together, growing closer despite obstacles faced a long way leading up until this very moment right now. The sun filtered through the trees, casting dappled shadows on the picnic blanket spread across the grass. I sat cross-legged, trying to focus on the moment instead of the thoughts swirling in my mind. Sam had suggested this outing, a break from our usual secretive meetings, but with every bite of the sandwich, I felt a gnawing anxiety. "Do you think it's possible to be happy and still feel lost?" I asked, breaking the comfortable silence between us. He looked at me, his brow furrowing slightly. "I think happiness can be complicated. Sometimes you have to choose what kind of happy you want." His answer hung in the air, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was more profound than he intended. The weight of secrecy pressed down on me like a heavy fog. I glanced around, ensuring no one was watching us. In this secluded spot of Forest Park, we could pretend for a moment that our lives were uncomplicated. "What about you?" I continued, needing to know where he stood. "What do you want?" He paused before answering, his gaze drifting to a family playing frisbee nearby. "I want to make memories, good ones." His eyes met mine again, holding an intensity that stirred something deep within me. "But sometimes I wonder if those memories are worth it if they can't last." The air felt charged with unspoken truths. My heart raced as I considered what he meant by that. Was he hinting at an end? Or was it just my insecurity speaking? I had been grappling with my feelings for weeks now, caught between desire and guilt. "I just don't want to hurt anyone," I admitted softly, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded slowly as if weighing my words carefully. "Neither do I." The sincerity in his tone made my chest tighten. We finished our lunch in silence, each lost in our thoughts. As we packed up the remnants of our meal, Sam's phone buzzed again, an incoming message that pulled him away from our moment. He glanced at it quickly before putting it back into his pocket. "Work?" I asked casually. "Yeah," he replied with a slight frown. "Just a reminder about an upcoming meeting." I nodded but couldn't ignore the flicker of disappointment that crossed his face. It was becoming increasingly clear how much our lives outside this bubble encroached on what we had built together, even if it was temporary. "Can we talk later?" he said suddenly, his tone shifting back to something more serious. My stomach dropped at his words. They echoed Sam's earlier message from yesterday evening, a subtle shift in our dynamic that left me feeling uneasy about what lay ahead. "Of course," I replied cautiously. As we walked back toward the car parked near the entrance of the park, my mind raced with possibilities and fears about what this conversation could entail. Would he suggest we end things? Or would he admit feelings that could complicate everything further? The drive back felt interminable as we navigated through Portland's winding streets filled with familiar sights, the coffee shops where we shared stolen moments and art galleries where laughter echoed softly against walls adorned with creativity. Each landmark served as a reminder of what we had created together but also highlighted how fragile it all felt. When we reached my apartment building, tension crackled between us like static electricity in the air before a storm. "I'll text you," he said simply before stepping out of the car. "Okay," I managed to reply even though uncertainty twisted within me like a knot tightening further with each passing second. Inside my apartment, silence enveloped me like a heavy blanket as I replayed our picnic conversation over and over again in my mind, searching for clues or signs that might offer clarity about where this was heading. I busied myself with mundane tasks, tidying up here and there while waiting for Sam's message to come through, each minute stretching endlessly into an eternity filled with anxious anticipation and doubt. Finally, around 8 o'clock that evening, my phone chimed, a notification lighting up the screen like fireworks against a dark sky, another message from Sam. "Can we meet? There's something important I need to discuss." My heart raced, Dread washed over me like cold water cascading down from above as panic began its slow creep into every corner of my mind. What could possibly be so important? Was this it, the moment everything changed? I took a deep breath and typed back quickly, yes. When? His response came almost immediately, how about now? I glanced out of the window. Dusk had settled over Portland like a soft blanket draping itself over rooftops and streetlights alike, a beautiful yet deceptive calm before whatever storm loomed ahead struck without warning. A part of me wanted to scream, to run away from everything, but another part urged me forward into whatever awaited us both outside those four walls separating reality from fleeting moments spent together under moonlit skies filled with uncertainty woven intricately among dreams yet unfulfilled. Arriving at our chosen cafe felt surreal. Its warm lights glowed invitingly against nightfall while laughter spilled out onto sidewalks filled with patrons enjoying their evenings together. Couples sharing intimate conversations while friends clinked glasses celebrating life's little victories amidst bustling energy surrounding them all. But inside me churned emotions threatening chaos beneath surface calmness masking deeper turmoil brewing silently within. When Sam arrived minutes later looking slightly disheveled yet still handsome despite whatever burdens weighed heavily upon him, I recognized instantly something had shifted between us both. "Thanks for coming," he said quietly as we settled into one another's company once more, words hanging thickly between us like fog obscuring clarity ahead. "I'm glad you asked," came out softer than intended but carried weight behind sincerity wrapped tightly around vulnerability laid bare beneath lingering tension still lingering unresolved. "I've been thinking," his voice trailed off momentarily before gathering strength again, eyes locking onto mine searching desperately for understanding amidst uncertainty looming larger than life itself around us both. "What is it?" My heart pounded louder than ever now. Anticipation mingled dangerously close alongside fear spiraling into unknown territory ahead. "I think," he hesitated again, a pause filled only by sounds surrounding us, the clinking dishes echoing softly against walls closing in tighter around us both. "I think maybe we should take some time apart." The words landed heavy upon fragile ground already trembling beneath feet unsure where next steps would lead. "I think maybe we should take some time apart." The words landed heavy upon fragile ground already trembling beneath feet unsure where next steps would lead. The cafe was quiet, the soft hum of conversation around us fading into a distant murmur. I stared at the table, tracing patterns in the wood with my fingertips, feeling the weight of his gaze on me. "Is that what you really want?" he asked, his voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of vulnerability. The sincerity in his eyes made my heart ache. I had never wanted to hurt him. "I don't know," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "This feels like it's spiraling out of control." Each word felt like a brick added to the wall between us, and yet I couldn't help but feel that it was necessary. He leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his hair as if trying to comb through the confusion swirling between us. "I thought we had something special," he said softly. I nodded, memories flooding back, those stolen moments filled with laughter and connection that felt so real yet so fleeting. But now, standing at this crossroads, clarity eluded me. "We do," I replied finally, "but I can't ignore what's happening in my life outside of us." His expression shifted then, a mixture of understanding and disappointment washing over his features. "I just wish we could find a way to make this work," he said. The truth was that our connection had become a lifeline for me during these weeks alone while my husband traveled for work. But now it felt like an anchor dragging me deeper into waters I wasn't sure I wanted to navigate any longer. "Maybe we need to step back and think about what we want," I suggested cautiously. "What if stepping back only makes things worse?" he countered, leaning forward with urgency. "What if we're missing out on something amazing?" His passion ignited something within me, a flicker of hope mixed with fear that perhaps this was all fleeting fantasy rather than reality. Yet the thought of continuing down this path filled me with dread. "I just need time," I insisted firmly. He nodded slowly, resignation settling across his features like a heavy blanket. Okay, he agreed softly. But let's be honest about where we stand. As the conversation waned into silence, I couldn't shake the feeling that this moment marked an end, an unspoken agreement that neither one of us fully embraced but both understood nonetheless. Later that evening, as twilight draped Portland in shades of purple and gold, I wandered through Forest Park alone, seeking solace among the trees. Each step felt heavier than the last as thoughts swirled around my head like leaves caught in a gust of wind. What did I truly want? Was it fair to keep holding on to him when my life outside beckoned for attention? My husband would return soon, our routine would resume its familiar rhythm, one tinged with unspoken tensions and unresolved feelings. A sudden rustle nearby startled me from my reverie. A deer emerged from behind a thicket before darting away into the shadows. It struck me how effortlessly nature moved on while I lingered in uncertainty. Returning home later that night felt surreal. Every creak of the floorboards echoed loudly against my racing thoughts as if they were mocking my internal struggle. My husband's suitcase sat by the door, an unwelcome reminder that normalcy awaited just beyond this moment. The next morning brought clarity wrapped in routine as sunlight streamed through our kitchen window while coffee brewed quietly on the counter. My husband appeared behind me, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder before pouring himself a cup. "Morning," he said cheerfully, unaware of the storm brewing within me. "Morning," I replied mechanically, forcing myself to smile as he chatted about his trip, the clients he met and meals shared over business discussions. In those moments of mundane normalcy, guilt gnawed at me relentlessly. How could I pretend everything was fine when part of me yearned for more? The weight of secrets pressed down heavily on my chest as if threatening to suffocate any remnants of joy left within our marriage. After breakfast ended and dishes were cleared away, an unexpected message pinged on my phone, a notification from him. "Thinking about you today," a simple message yet laden with meaning that sent shivers coursing through me. I glanced at my husband who was lost in his own world at the table. How could one text unravel everything? The thrill mixed with guilt created an intoxicating cocktail. One sip too many could lead to disastrous consequences for both relationships involved. As afternoon rolled around and sunlight poured into our living room through sheer curtains fluttering lightly in the breeze, an idea formed, a plan slowly taking shape amidst chaos swirling around inside me. "Can we talk?" My voice broke through silence unexpectedly as I approached him where he sat reading on the couch. "Sure," he replied with curiosity sparking behind his eyes as he set aside his book attentively focused now entirely on me. "I've been thinking about us." He tilted his head slightly, uncertainty flickered across his face but remained silent waiting patiently for me to continue speaking what weighed heavily on my heart. "I think maybe we should consider some changes moving forward." "What kind of changes?" His brow furrowed slightly indicating concern creeping into otherwise calm demeanor established over years spent together navigating life's ups and downs side by side without question or doubt until now. "I don't know exactly yet," I admitted truthfully feeling exposed under scrutiny while searching for words that would encapsulate everything swirling inside without causing unnecessary hurt or confusion further complicating matters already tangled beyond recognition. Before another word could escape either one's lips however fate intervened unexpectedly, a loud knock echoed from outside breaking tension suspended between us like glass ready shattering at any moment. My heart raced wildly wondering who could possibly be at our door interrupting fragile moment shared just moments ago. The knock at the door shattered the delicate atmosphere, sending a jolt of reality through me. My heart raced as I exchanged a quick glance with him, our moment interrupted by an unexpected visitor. The warmth that had enveloped us moments ago now felt like a distant memory, replaced by a rush of anxiety. "Who could that be?" I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. He shrugged, uncertainty reflected in his eyes. We both knew it was too late for anyone else to be visiting. Another knock echoed, more insistent this time. I stood up slowly, the weight of the decision to open that door heavy on my shoulders. I should check, I said, not entirely convinced it was a good idea. As I approached the door, I glanced back at him one last time. His expression was unreadable but tinged with concern. I opened the door just enough to peek outside. To my surprise, it was my husband standing there, suitcase in hand and an expression of confusion on his face. Surprise? I thought I'd come home early, he said cheerfully. Panic surged through me as I stepped back instinctively. What are you doing here? The question slipped out before I could catch myself. I missed you and figured we could spend some time together, he replied, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. The smell of his cologne mixed with the lingering scent of our earlier intimacy made my stomach churn. I turned back toward the room where he waited, frozen in place as if caught in a spotlight. There was no denying it now, everything had changed in an instant. My heart sank as I faced my husband's cheerful demeanor while knowing what lay just beyond him, my connection with someone else. Hey, my husband called out cheerfully as he noticed the younger guest still seated in the corner of the room. Didn't know we were having company. The younger man stood up slowly, his expression shifting from surprise to something more guarded. Nice to meet you, he managed to say, extending his hand awkwardly. My husband shook his hand firmly, oblivious to the tension crackling in the air between us three. So what were you two up to? He asked casually as he set his suitcase down. A wave of dread washed over me. How could I explain this? How could I possibly articulate what had transpired without unraveling everything? My mind raced through possible scenarios while my heart thudded loudly in my chest. Just talking about art, I said finally, trying to keep my tone light and casual despite the storm brewing inside me. Art? Sounds interesting. My husband smiled broadly before turning back toward his bag and pulling out a small gift box wrapped neatly in shiny paper. I brought you something. My stomach twisted into knots at the sight of it, a token from him meant to symbolize love and commitment while all I could think about was how fleeting my recent escapade felt now that reality had barged back into my life uninvited. Oh honey, you didn't have to do that, I said quickly, trying to mask any hint of guilt or discomfort in my voice. Nonsense. It's just a little something. He handed me the box with an expectant smile that made me feel even worse about everything happening around us. As I took it from him and opened it carefully, revealing a delicate silver bracelet nestled within soft tissue paper, a beautiful piece but laden with implications that felt suffocating right now, I glanced at him again across the room. His eyes were cast downwards, disappointment mingled with resignation etched across his features. I hope you like it, my husband continued enthusiastically while oblivious to our shared moment of understanding lingering silently between us two. One filled with memories we had created over these past weeks and all too quickly fading away into what seemed like nothingness now. It's lovely, I replied softly as guilt washed over me like cold water splashing against bare skin on a winter morning, sharp and biting but undeniable nonetheless. Great. We should celebrate tonight then. He clapped his hands together excitedly before moving toward our small dining table set against one wall adorned by local art pieces reflecting Portland's vibrant culture, the very place where this tangled web began weaving itself into existence not so long ago. My heart sank further at those words. How could we celebrate when everything felt so fragile? A sense of impending loss enveloped me like fog rolling through Portland's streets on an autumn evening, heavy yet eerily beautiful all at once. We should probably get dinner started soon then, I suggested hesitantly while trying desperately not to look toward him again. The younger man who had entered my life unexpectedly yet stirred feelings within me that resonated far deeper than mere attraction ever could. As if sensing my turmoil beneath surface-level pleasantries exchanged between us three individuals now sharing this small space together, a sudden silence fell over us all. Tension thick enough to cut through with a knife hung heavily in air surrounding us like fog creeping silently across city streets after dusk. After what felt like an eternity passed without anyone speaking further, my husband busying himself unpacking items from his bag while casting occasional glances toward us, I finally mustered courage enough for one last look across room before returning focus back onto gift cradled gently within hands resting atop table before me. I knew this wouldn't last forever. Whatever bond forged during those stolen moments together would inevitably fade away once reality reclaimed its hold over our lives again, but did it have to end here? Suddenly feeling brave despite overwhelming emotions swirling around me, I turned slightly towards him once more, catching a glimpse of deep blue eyes staring intently back into mine, searching for answers neither one knew how best articulate aloud. "We should talk later," he murmured quietly under breath, almost lost amidst noise filling room around us, but somehow still managing reach deep inside soul, yearning for connection beyond mere physicality shared between two people caught up whirlwind circumstances beyond their control. Before another word escaped either one's lips, however, fate intervened unexpectedly. A loud knock echoed from outside, breaking tension suspended between us like glass ready shattering at any moment. My heart raced wildly, wondering who could possibly be at our door, interrupting fragile moment shared just moments ago.